Welcome to The Sober Unicorn. We are a gay-hosted, all-inclusive podcast about sobriety and addiction recovery for the LGBT plus community and all of our allies. I am your host, Holden, and thank you for joining us today. All right, well, hello, everybody. So today we have another returning guest for the fourth time, I believe. I know, but...
4? Wow.
Yes, but this is only the third time we're going to be talking about a book. So, hello, Charlie.
Hello. Hi. How are you?
How are you? I'm great. How are you?
Doing very well. It's rainy where I'm at, so dealing with that, but otherwise well.
The weather in Florida has been a little wonky too recently.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, let me hear about it. I'm up in Missouri where it's been fucking insane. Let me hear about that Florida weather.
Well, girl, the thing is, we had that flood. I don't know if you saw the news. Like,
oh no, I shouldn't run my mouth, should I? Because I don't know shit.
Yeah, it was like this. It was this aerial view of like this one long street of just cars like submerged underwater.
Oh my God.
That was 2 streets up from me.
Oh my
where,
God.
that
No, I
is.
didn't know a thing about that.
It was so bad. Like I have at least like 6 or
Shit.
7 friends that like lost their cars in that flood. It was the weirdest thing because it was no hurricane, no nothing, just literally a flood.
Oh my God. Can you get flood insurance for your car? I don't know.
You know what's crazy though? Florida, now that this flood has happened and all this, a lot of car insurance companies are pulling out of the state.
I bet they are.
So car insurance, like for a normal fucking policy right now, is like $300 a month. And I'm like,
fucking are.
I still haven't moved my car to Florida yet for that reason. I pay like $115 a month.
Hey, I don't blame you.
But I need to. My registration expires in October, so I kind of like have to do it. So
you got
anyways,
some time. You got some time.
So Charlie was with us for his first book, and honestly, I think you were maybe like my third guest on the podcast.
Oh my God.
And it was oh my God, Jesus Christ. At least I'm not the frog. There we go. I was know why I blank so quickly.
I love that as the title. Oh my God, Jesus Christ. At least I'm not the frog.
It was titled At Least I'm Not the Frog. It was like kind of his memoir of like during his addiction, rehab hopping and stuff like that into recovery. Then fast forward into his second book, The Frog's Bottle, which is also here on the podcast as well. That one was more about certain instances he had with individuals in his experience throughout recovery. Well, more rehab than anything. So it was more personalized experiences with the people that he met throughout his tumultuous and many rehab stays.
54. 50 fucking 4.
I know, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
And then now we jump forward into The Frog No More, which is the third and final installment of his memoir trilogy chronicles. This book highly focused on the recovery aspect. Kind of like it goes back into his childhood. Well, of course, we're going to get into that. And it goes into his recovery. So this book specifically was a lot more, I would say, lighthearted.
Good. Okay. I didn't feel that way, but that's great. I'm glad that okay, good.
Like it made, for me, it made me kind of understand who you are, why you are who you are today because of the experiences that you had as a child. And then it gave people hope at the end with kind of like talking about like the success that you've had and the experiences you've had now that you can have these experiences because you are, of course, sober today.
Yes.
So you're what, 3 years or coming up on?
July 8th of this year, I'll have 4 years. So I guess I'm like 3 years and 8 months or 7 months or something like that. So over 3.5 years. It's insane.
You didn't fall off like I did.
Well, hey, but no. That is
It's
fine.
okay. No,
you're going strong.
Yeah, today's the 7th, so I'll have like 15 months. So
That's a lot.
Yeah, a year.
I mean, just
months.
think back to when we couldn't get more than 2 or 3 days sober. You know,
there were so many times I was like, I'll take a sobriety break for 4 days, and then it's like a couple hours later, I had
4 hours later, fucked up. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so I'm kind of going to start from the beginning.
Okay.
Of course.
A very, very good place to start.
No. So, all right. Well, before we start with my questions that I have, why don't you kind of tell everybody like what that haven't maybe listened to the first 2 episodes, what made you want to write your story and especially 3-book installment?
Definitely. Yeah. I didn't know it was going to be 3 books when I first started. And what started it all was in 2017, I started going to rehab. I made the magical discovery that if you were employed and you had insurance, you could go to rehab. All you had to do was just like call around and see if they accepted your insurance. So once I learned that, I went on this journey, like we've said, of 54 rehabs. And that started in 2017. And by about 2018, I had been to a couple rehabs, a couple detoxes, and I thought, wow, I have just been exposed to so much education, so many different types of recovery techniques, 12-step, holistic, spiritual, whatever it may have been. I had a buffet of recovery. And I thought, not many people get to do this. Not many people fly all over the country and get to spend this much time with other addicts and alcoholics who are trying to heal. So I just thought it was very unique. And in the back of my mind, was like, I should write a book about this one day. Like, it would be really cool. And then I went on and relapsed and drank and went to rehab for another, I don't know how many fucking years, 2 or 3. And finally, around 2020, when I got sober, July 8th of 2020, I had sat down. Well, it wasn't July, it was more like October. I had sat down and I was like, okay, you've got a couple months sober, which for me at that time was huge. To have more than 30 days sober was like, has the world stopped spinning? Like, is this real life? So when I was sat down in October and was like, I can't believe I've stayed sober this long. Like, what am I going to do? I just started writing. And it then became this extraordinarily cathartic process where I could revisit these horrible moments in my past that I had blocked off or used to forget or, drank to numb. And I could revisit them and work through them and process them and then be done with them. And it just blew my mind that that was even possible. And that's how the first book was born, was just coping with my fucking nonsense of a life.
I would say, if for anybody listening that may be in recovery, like whether you're going to publish it or not, I think writing down what a so-called memoir like is going to be beneficial. The thing is, that's probably the most therapeutic thing that I've done so far. And I
Yes,
mean, how
me as
like
well.
how therapeutic? Okay, I was going to say, how therapeutic was that for you? I mean, do you feel that was more healing than other things, or?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. In all of my rehabs and detoxes, I had been told, journal what you feel. And I would journal what I felt and what I thought, but it was very superficial. It was very on the surface. It was never exploring how I felt about what had happened to me or what I really thought. And as soon as I gave myself license to just jump into the deep end and look at my life from a very objective perspective, because you do have to be a bit objective when you're writing, because you're building the scene and you're thinking about all the
Mhm.
mechanics. And I think perhaps because I was viewing it objectively, that's the reason I was able to engage with it in such a intimate manner and then heal from it. Yeah, I think, of course, my sobriety is made up of so many components, but
Mhm.
writing was like the main ingredient. Without
53
that,
components.
53 to be exact. But yes, without the writing, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be sitting here. I would either be dead or I'd still be drunk or I'd be in a rehab. So I know it's not going to be the thing that saves everyone. But what I can say is, if you can find that outlet, like writing was for me and for you, and you give yourself over to it, it will heal you. It really will.
No, 100%. So we'll dive in into the nitty gritty of
Oh,
The Frog No
yes.
More,
Oh,
to give
yes.
everybody a little snippet of what they can expect if they read it. So, Buckshaw. Okay, and we'll start with there.
Bucksaw.
But Bucksaw, really? I
You're
thought it was,
okay.
it's okay.
You're okay. It's a hick country. It's in a town named Tightwad.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh
Tightwad,
man,
Missouri is where I grew up.
they should make a tight end. But anyways,
Oh, they
um,
should. Tight ass.
so Bucksaw, your family, you said your grandparents built it. It was like it was on the lake, and this is
Hmm.
where you met those two little girls and stuff like that. Like, since you've been clean and you have a free frame of mind, like, have you been back?
Yes. One of the first things I did when I got back to Missouri, listeners who have heard my other podcasts will know that in 2020, I made a journey from California to Missouri for some legal reasons. And that's really where the change of my life started. But when I got back to Missouri, one of the first places I went was to Bucksaw because it's where I grew up. It's this huge resort on Truman Lake that my grandparents had built in the early 80s. And then my parents took it over. It's got a pool, a lodge, cabins, it's got docks. It was just this amazing, like magical land that I got to grow up in. And it's so dear to me and it's so restorative for me to be back on that land. I've been there so many times since I've gotten home. During my writing, I would go there like 2-3 times a week, and I wouldn't even write. I would just go and sit there.
So is it still? I'm assuming is it still like the
Yeah.
resort and okay?
Yep. Still
Is it
fully
still in the
functional.
family?
No. We sold it in 1999, right before my mom passed away. But I will say the new owners, when I first went down there, I was like, "Hi, I'm Charlie Gray. My grandparents built this," and they were like, "Oh, John and Norma Jean." I was like, "Yeah, that's my granny and grandpa." They were like, "Oh my God." They like had all these questions for me. They gave me this tour of how they were like renovate. It was so sweet. And I told them that I was writing a book, and they were like, "Anytime, you just come down here and do whatever you want. Like, just it's yours." I was like, "Thank you so much."
Oh,
So
that's so
it's
amazing.
yeah, so it's still in my life. And one day I do want to be really rich and I want to buy it back because it's mine. Damn it, it's mine.
Well, I mean, I feel you need to be, if we go all the way back to the first book, the house that you were at
The
there.
house on the hill. Yeah.
Yes, I feel you need to buy that house back.
One of my really good friends from high school bought that house and she's raising her babies in it, her
Oh,
2 boys and her little girl. And she's got the most beautiful voice. Her name is Megan Johnson. And I love her to pieces. She's such a gracious, caring, vivacious woman. And I remember showing her the house when she was pregnant with their oldest, and I was drunk. And I was like, "You've got to buy this house. You've got to raise this baby here." And so she did. So I
that,
would probably never buy that back because that's theirs now, but I'm just going to build my own.
but you can visit her anytime now,
Yes,
right?
and I have. Yes, and I have. And she's so sweet. She let my sister and I come and walk through the house. And it reminded me, have you ever heard that Miranda Lambert song, The House That Built Me?
I think so.
It's just a really sweet song about asking someone that lives in your childhood house, "Can I go walk through my childhood house? I won't touch anything. I just want to look around and be in the memories."
Did
And
you,
so
go
what?
ahead. I got to tell you a story after that.
Okay. So yeah, she let us do that. She let Brody and I come back and we just walked all over the land and the house. And I'm very much a person that getting back to my roots has given me my strength back.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So as soon as you said going back to a childhood house, all I think about is this TikTok that I saw that had J Lo go back to her childhood home.
I've seen it and they don't
And
know
the
who she
guy
is.
is like literally doesn't know who the
Yeah,
fuck she is. I'm like,
I've
okay,
seen that.
there's Jennifer Lopez. Hello. She
It's
was
J-Lo, bitch.
like she was Selena in the movies. Hello.
It's
Um,
Jenny from the block. This block.
so as soon as you said that, that made me chuckle. Okay. So when you were a child, you used to pray. And
Pray. Yes.
so back then though, you mentioned that you were praying to all the gods. You didn't know which one. So the thing
Yes.
is, throughout your recovery, has that changed, or are you still more of just like a encompassment of all the gods?
It has been distilled and refined through my recovery. And I think now I look back now and I'm so thankful for my mom and dad and the environment that they raised me in because religion could have been in my life. It was never a closed door, but it was never really an opened door. I knew that my dad believed in God, very passionately believed in God. I knew my mom believed in some sort of God, but it was never the climate of my household was not a religious climate. So when I would go and pray, it's because I didn't know what God, I'd like this whole concept. And that's something that plagued me through my recovery too. It's something I used to say to counselors, like, I have no concept of God because I was not brought up in a house. It just wasn't a thing in any of my family members. Like we just weren't religious people. but not in the way of making a conscious effort to not be religious. You know, it was just very ambivalent towards it, I suppose.
Of course, and of course, your mom, you lost her unfortunately at the age of 13. The
Yes.
thing is, you used alcohol to kind of cope, and that's I feel that's kind of where everything kicked off for you.
Yes.
Um, so knowing that the tools that you've learned over the course of your recovery, like how for anybody else listening that may lose a parent, like how would you have coped differently with her passing?
Well, I was so young, it really wasn't. This is where I'm going to get real, and I'm not calling out my family, and I'm not saying my family did things wrong or my dad did things wrong or they should have done this. But a 13-year-old boy is not in charge of, well, how should they cope whenever this happens to them? That really is the family and the parents' job to say, okay, this has happened to this child. What do we need to do? Because this is going to severely impact the rest of his life. Nobody did that. So, and like I said, I'm not everyone was trying to take care of themselves because my mom was the rock of the family. So we were all fucked up. But what I would say is, if yeah, that's a hard question to answer. If you're old enough, then you have the mindset to take care of yourself. But sometimes that's just life. You know, I just got hit by a semi and there was nothing to protect me. So if I had advice for anyone, it would be just recognizing the fact that when a significant life event happens to you, it is fair and valid to stop your world and process that event. It's not selfish.
No, 100%. The thing is like stating how your parents, I mean, your dad and especially grandparents then didn't really help process it. The thing is, if I remember correctly, it's right after her death, you were being left alone quite a
Yes.
lot, and that allowed
Yeah.
you to. The thing is, as you said, they were kind of taking care of themselves, and unfortunately, they had a whole business
Yes.
to run as well. But I mean, as you just said, like taking that pause and like stopping, because the thing is, if once you get into recovery, baby, the amount of death that you're going to experience is
Oh my
insanity.
God. Oh my God. I know so many people that I've written about that I went to rehab with. Yeah. It's a cruel truth. What you just
Yeah.
said. It's a cruel truth.
Thankfully, I haven't lost my mother, so I can't even begin to understand what that experience is like. One day it'll happen, and I pray, and one day at a time, 1 minute at a time, probably at
Mm-hmm.
that point, that I don't
Yes.
go back to drugs and alcohol to cope with it. Um, but yeah, I mean, anybody like dealing with death, let me tell you, everybody copes with this so differently. But I mean, as you said, you were 13. There's really not much.
A 13-year-old doesn't have the mental capacity to understand what they need to do to our brains are, it's not possible. A
So you're
13-year-old needs help.
Yeah, of course, of course. So your dad got remarried.
Yes, very quickly after. Yeah.
Are they still married?
No, my dad got remarried a couple times. I love my dad. I love my dad, and he is a great man. But losing my mom broke that man in half. And it took him, I would say he didn't start to recover until about 2014, 2015. It took him about 15 years. And it's sad, but that's what happened.
Yeah. No, that's unfortunate. But I mean, hopefully he's happy now in
Yeah,
a
he is. And he's in a great relationship.
good.
It's a kind of a crazy thing that the lady that he's with was one of my mom's really good friends, and her husband had been one of my dad's really good friends, and then he passed away, and so they came together, and that's when I really think my dad started to heal. Yeah, the other wives, he thought he had to have someone to raise the kids, have a motherly figure, just all these
Mhm.
things that culture had put into his mind. So
So talking about relationships, you being a little gay boy had a relationship online with a Potterhead.
yeah, Colin.
So Colin, we won't go into the drama that unfolded with him because of course people need to read about it.
Yeah.
Do you speak with him? Have you ever spoke with him after that?
No, no, I have not. I mean, I'm sure I did after the incident in the book. I'm sure
Okay.
that I did, like when I was in high school and stuff, but no, not in my adult life have I. I have no idea. I would love to reconnect. Colin, if you're out there and listening to this, and then Jana, who was George Weasley's girlfriend. That was her title when, or her pen name when she wrote fan fiction. I would love to reconnect with her too, because these were very important figures in my life. Right after my mom had died, they came into my life. I sought solace in Harry Potter, in fan fiction, and these people probably didn't know it, but there were a lot of the reason that I was stayed alive at that time.
Yeah, no, Harry Potter, I mean, what's weird is that was kind of a comfort for me as well as a child. It was so weird. I don't know if you have the same experience, but now that I'm older and I go back to watch the original movies, the horrific acting that was in like the first three movies.
I can't. I mean, I know what you're talking about. The centaur scene, especially in the first movie where
Hmm.
Harry's talking to the centaur, the acting is, but they hold such, it's like Twilight. Twilight holds such a space in my heart, just the movies. I've never read the books. And I understand that they're not these great, but I don't know, there's something about it, that the escapism, the safety that you get whenever you're involved in that world, because you're in your own world and you're safe and you
Hmm.
know what's going to happen. And yeah, the acting is horrendous, but the books and the movie, it's not so much the movies for me. I do love the movies, but what would happen is when I was really trying to get sober, like in the throes of my addiction, I would always reread Harry Potter, and I could stay sober as long as it took me to read 1 through 7. And then when I was done, I would
Which is a
always,
long fucking time.
well, not for, I mean, yeah, I would read them pretty quick, but
Oh,
yeah.
I had to stop after I think the fourth or fifth book was the last one I read because the thing is,
What?
there's just so many words.
They're just so, oh, but
Just so many
you
words.
movie people don't get the whole other world.
There was
Oh,
just too many words. I mean, even
it's legit. That's legit. It's fair. I
your
grant you
book,
that.
I did finish your book pretty quickly. Because I was like, okay, I need to get them scheduled. I've had the book now for 6 months roughly, and I was
It's
like, bitch,
okay.
sit down and read it. So
It's okay.
I just life takes over sometimes.
Yes, it
Okay,
does.
so are you obsessed with Charmed? No, not
Charmed.
Charmed, not Charmed. Hold on, The Craft.
The Craft. Yes.
Okay,
Huge movie of my childhood. Huge.
it shows
Huge.
because you there was after praying to all the gods later when you became an adult, more of an adult, you started praying to the east, the west, the towers.
Yes. Yes, and
Okay,
that all came from The Craft.
okay,
Well, it didn't. Yes, it did come from The Craft, because that was my first exposure. Watching The Craft was my first exposure to anything like that. And then I went online and read everything I could about Wicca and the Guardians of the East and Calling the Corners and all of that. And it still resonates with me. I don't think I ever answered your question. Yes, I did. I said that my definition of God has, yeah, been distilled and refined. Yeah.
yes, yes, and of course, I think everybody's definition of God is so there's such variations of it. That's kind of why I've slowed down on being like, what is your definition? Because at the end of the day, I think everybody's definition is going to be so different. I think, but collectively,
The same.
everybody it's caring and loving.
Yeah.
That's it. Like
So different, but exactly the same.
exactly.
Yep.
So you were a little harlot back in the day,
Oh yeah. Oh
and
God. I'm so lucky that I'm
you
not
you almost had a sugar daddy
a couple.
because this one was like that you essentially told him that you wanted $500 to go back to his place.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, of course, how do you because you didn't want to work, you wanted to be
Mm.
taken care of.
Hmm.
So, how do you feel nowadays that you're a strong, independent woman?
Yeah, right. I I still don't want to work, but I'm not gonna hoe myself out. Well, maybe I would. I don't know. What you paying? Um, but yeah, no, that was, and that also shows where just how I valued myself back then. That I was so just lost. And I thought I was proud of it. I was so proud that I could get people to give me money to have sex, like warped, but you do what you do to cope, I guess. And I needed money. I needed to fucking drink and do drugs.
No, 100%, 100%. So, the thing is, like, we do crazy things to get the money. Thankfully, during my addiction, I feel I was a functioning addict because I maintained employment.
Well, then, yeah, you were.
The very end of it, I started spending rent money, but
Yeah.
so now I just spend my money on fucking food. I still spend the money, whether it's drugs or something else.
Hey,
Um,
food's better than drugs.
so of course you went to rehab and you've kind of advocated for rehab throughout this. But you
Hmm.
had an experience with the Viva House. So in the book, it states that for the first 90 days, you didn't have to work.
Yes.
So not a lot of sober livings are like that. There's very few and far
No.
between that scholarship people or give them a 2 to 3 weeks free rent. I feel many times that people step out of rehab and go straight back to using is because they're like, they had 30, 45 days to focus on themselves. And all of a sudden, the stress of, oh, fuck, I need a job. I got to pay bills. What am I going to do?
Life comes,
Yeah, life
boom.
comes and hits them. So do you feel that like the Viva House experience with that 90 days of no working, like help with the propulsion of your success?
100%. It started it all. California started it all. Getting into this amazing rehab called Affinity, and then going to the Viva House after Affinity is how I really began to get sober, is because, yes, I had this amazing opportunity where I got to go to this beautiful rehab on the coast and live in this mansion with just a few other guys and have a lot of attention on me from therapists that I needed at the time. And they deduced, like, this dude is fucked. Like, he's gonna go kill himself if somebody doesn't just step in and hold his fucking hand every minute of the day. And so it was their decision to put me in the Viva House that saved my life. And it was because they had set up a program. And I wish that there were more like this,
Hmm.
because I don't think that we understand it, because you're going to let an addict or an alcoholic just live in a house and not do nothing for 90 days. Like, that
Yeah.
sounds, but that wasn't the case. There was many things we had to do. We just weren't immediately having to worry about a paycheck and utilities. And, it just let us ease back in. And I do wish there were more opportunities like that, because it is so beneficial.
No, of course. And I mean, the thing is, things like that kind of sculpt your recovery. For me, coming to Florida into sober living made a huge difference. Yes, I think I didn't get free rent like you did.
Well, that was only one time that happened to me. I've every other sober living I've been to, I've had to pay. I've had to immediately get a job. It's just been horrendous. And I love sober living, and I think it's
Yeah.
great, but it is tough. It's tough.
No, it is. I mean, the accountability, the curfews, the expectations are very hard. But the thing is, like that um, accountability piece, I feel is what 100% saved my
Yes.
ass at least a couple times.
Yes.
So I went to Tampa, and the like, I was driving to the dope house, and it was like me on the way there, and it was like a 12, 13 minute drive. I was like, you work in recovery, you're gonna have to get a new job. You live in a fucking halfway house. You're gonna have to get a new place to live. Like, you moved here for recovery. So I was like, knowing that I was gonna have that accountability completely made me like flip it and reverse it, like Missy Elliott, and like
Hmm.
stop what I was doing, because I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, my life here in Florida has been absolutely incredible. And like, why am I gonna fucking like want to
And
quit
that's a
crying?
testament. Yeah, that is such a testament to how far you've come in your recovery too. Whenever that would have happened, because was that one of your last relapses? Or not last relapse, but was like, what was that here at the end of, like, when was this, is what I'm asking.
So the Tampa situation, I didn't get high, but that was back in probably like 6 months ish into me moving to Florida.
Okay, so then you had some recovery under your belt. Yeah.
Yeah,
See.
because I had, when I relapsed the last time, I started October of 23. No, not 23, 22. And I kept going. That's when like the addiction for me, like, isolated myself, locked myself in a room strictly to smoke to get high. And I stopped December of 22. And then oh, I literally, the day I stopped getting high was the day I started my drive to Florida. And I was telling my previous guest, I literally still like had the meth pipe, and the Ziploc baggie that I kept everything um, in my car because I was like moving out of the house. Like
Yeah.
I didn't like what am I supposed to do with this meth pipe? I used to crush it up, sprinkle it in a dumpster, separate it so like people
Yeah.
can piece it together. Um and it was empty. Like I like rinsed the meth pipe out like completely, so there was no residue. Um and it was like maybe a weekend. I had a firearm with me at the time that I've had to sell part with. Um but I literally took that out of my car at a gas station one day, shattered it, and then sprinkled it into the trash can at the gas station.
Was it liberating?
It was because I was
Yeah.
like, because I mean, the entire time, my first week here in Florida, I was like, what if the house manager searches my car?
Yeah.
Like, and the thing is, at that time, like, I wasn't using, I knew I was clean, but I was like, because of something that like I hadn't parted with, could have ruined everything that I'd done. And I mean, I am insanely blessed with the halfway that I'm in because any of my friends that come over here are like, "Oh my god, you're so lucky. Oh my god, it's so cute."
You got a nice
Um,
one.
yeah, no, it's I'm insanely blessed, and I don't take that for granted. So
Good.
back to you and your book. So we're gonna talk about before I jump into rehab again. So you were getting high with somebody in a truck. Okay,
Mhm.
we're not gonna go into the names and the details about that situation because I want people to read it. But do you still hear from that person?
He passed away. Yeah. Um, his real, well, yeah, I forget what I called him in the book, but I know who you're talking
I
about.
don't
And
remember either.
I can't remember what I called him in the book. I know his real name. I mean, yeah, I see him plain as day in my head right now. But yes, he passed away a couple of years ago when I was sober. I was sober when he passed away, and I hadn't spoken to him since I had been living at home. That when I was doing meth with him was when I had come back from college. I had just graduated college and come home, and I didn't know what the fuck I was going to do with my life, and fell into some bad shit with him. And yeah, so but he died.
Ugh, was it?
Addiction took him out.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. That
yeah.
was my next question. See,
Addiction took him out. Yep.
people don't like stop doing drugs.
I know. Or drinking or taking pills or yeah, just like
Yeah,
but I understand that it's hard to stop too. It took me fucking a long
it
time,
was
11
what you
years.
were 14ish years in
From
addiction.
when I very first started. So I would say I had 11 years.
Okay,
There was stuff that I was doing before that, but it wasn't addictive behavior yet. It's
okay.
I can clearly look at my life when it happened and then when it stopped. And it was 11 years of just absolute fucking madness that I never want to go back to.
And talking about people that have made like an impact in your life, you were very close to somebody named Rowan
Mhm.
at one of the facilities.
Mhm.
First question, because I'm a nosy little bitch, is did y'all fuck?
Mm-mm. No, Rowan was straight.
Well, that didn't stop you from the other one in one of the other
Well, no, I
books.
mean Rowan was real straight. Like he was, like I'm real gay. Like I don't sleep with women. He was
Okay.
real straight. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he was
So
really straight, not straight.
yeah, no, he was legit straight. Like he had a gay or was it brother or I can't remember the specifics. I think it was a cousin. Um but he had a gay like friend or like family member that he was really close to. So he was like silly and didn't care and would like play
Mm.
around with you, but no, he wasn't going to sleep with you. And
Damn.
I didn't want to sleep with him though. When I was in that rehab, that was in the California rehab. It only holds 6 guys.
Oh,
And
it's so small.
I know, and I was the only gay guy and all the other guys were straight. Like they were not straight. Like so it was fun. They would like tease me, but in a very like a playful way,
But that probably helped because I know in previous books there was rehab romances,
Yes,
and that could have that. I
it
mean,
gets
of
in the
course,
way.
yeah, it's a
It
huge
gets in the
distraction.
way. It is. It's a distraction from yourself. You become worried about that person. I was so thankful in that rehab to just have straight guys. And then the sober living I went to was all straight guys.
Same,
I didn't need to be around gay men. I didn't need to. I
yeah.
wasn't
No,
safe.
I'm in a straight house. Well, it's just a house, okay, not a straight house.
But not an
But
LGBT. I know what you mean. I've lived
yeah,
in some gay sober houses too.
I've thought about it. Like there's one out here. I can't remember what it's called, but I have a friend that lives there. Well, she's actually the first female to be in a male gay house.
I did that too once. I
Yeah,
lived in a female house and as a gay man, and that was actually better than living with gay men, because with the gay men, I mean,
it's catty and bitchy
and
and
fucking and
yeah, and the
just
boys get in trouble and then they try to steal yo man.
yeah, and it's just too much. It's too many cocksuckers in one room.
That was never a problem when we were at the bathhouse. No, I'm kidding. Um, so you were in a friend's living room. This is you're sober at this time. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this was while you were in Switzerland with
Oh
Brett.
yes, this is with Bert.
So Bert, sorry, not. And it was funny. I totally have Bert typed. Okay,
But what did you call him?
Brett.
That's his real name.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's crazy. He goes by William now, but I always call him. It's hard for me to remember William because in college he was Brett, but then I started calling him Bert whenever we'd get fucked up. So that's yeah.
Well, it's
Yeah.
funny. I don't have my glasses on. I normally do, but like then my ring light reflects, and without the glasses, my blue eyes be popping. So like I can't see
I
for
know I
shit right
should
now.
take mine. Yeah.
Oh my god, your eyes are so blue.
Yeah, they're very blue. They're hidden behind these
Twinsies.
spectacles.
So you talked about he was kind of, I believe, talking about your first book, and you said that you would not change anything about your addiction.
Yes. No, I
Okay.
wouldn't. I wouldn't.
So before I go into my next question, why wouldn't you change anything?
I would not change a thing that happened to me because I do not believe. I think had I not had addiction, I think had I not been homeless and been exposed to so many different socio-economical background, if I was such a sheltered child that I was very judgmental and I wasn't very compassionate. And I think that addiction humbled me and it made me such a better man. It made me such a much more compassionate man, a much more understanding man, a much more empathetic man. And I wouldn't change a minute of it because I look at our country today and I want to be the type of person I am. I don't want to be the other type that is out there right now. And I probably would have been had I not been an alcoholic. And I think alcoholism, it saved me from something, and it's a blip. It doesn't have to be anything more than a blip in my life, than a lesson in my life. I hope to live a very long life. And alcoholism really gave me a great education.
Yeah, of what not to do in life.
Of what not to do, of how not to be. And to open my eyes and to love, I wouldn't change a second.
I think that's one of the biggest things for me is like alcohol and meth aside. The thing is like recovery's taught me to just to be a better human overall, to be nicer to somebody else. Because the thing is, hatred takes so much fucking energy.
Oh, it's so much easier to be nice.
Yes, it's just like to be like when I'm driving. I used to be like major road rage. I've like followed people before. I've like brandished my firearm before.
I get it.
And now that I'm sober, it's like when I'm like driving and somebody goes to cut me off, I'm like, okay, maybe they need to be where they're going faster. Like maybe there's a woman having a baby in the back seat. Maybe they're fucking tweaking.
Maybe they're tweaking, or I don't know what's going on in their life. Like that's exactly the type of sort of, I guess, pause that addiction gives you, is you learn to be like, the world isn't fucking about me, and I think when you stop operating from that, like, oh my god, everyone's thinking about me, everyone's like judging about, no, everyone's worried about themselves.
Oh, that's so damn true. So talking about that you wouldn't change anything during addiction, if you hadn't gone through 53 rehabs, if you hadn't done the active addiction, like where do you think you'd be in life today?
If I hadn't have been an alcoholic?
Yes.
I don't fucking know.
You're like, bitch, don't make me think about that right now.
I know. I'm like, I probably would have been a very successful, very wealthy, very bitter, awful man, I mean, I would have been gay because I came out very early and that was never going to be, I wasn't going to have some life where I got married or anything like that. I definitely would have been gay, but I would have been just ew.
Yeah.
No, I thank God, my version of God, that I was born gay, that I was born an alcoholic, and I have learned to look at the death of my mother as really almost like an act of selflessness that she did for me, because that was what started everything, was her
Mhm.
passing. And I think to myself, maybe if mom hadn't died, would you have been an evil person? You know? And so maybe she had to make the ultimate sacrifice so that I could be a good person. That's really deep and like kind of out there, I know, but that's
But
really
that's
how I've made my,
okay.
yeah, it's how I've made my peace with it.
So, of course, we're gonna jump into something else, but that's it, at least for the book. So, why don't you grab? I know you have some books behind you. Show people the
Oh,
cover of what it looks like.
well, I was doing that because I was going to look up that one guy's name. I was
Oh,
like, this is bothering me.
oh my god.
This
Because I
is
remember your friend telling you like to not fuck around with that
the
guy, to like
frog
leave
no
him
more.
alone. So if anybody has any interest in Charlie's book to read it, you can find it on Amazon.com. The Frog No
Yes.
More.
Yeah.
Or you search up Charlie Gray, Gray, and you'll come up with all of his books, all three of them. And
Yeah.
of course, I'll link it down below in the description. Um, but of course, I loved reading them. I will probably eventually read them again. Charlie's been gracious enough that I have all of my copies signed because I ordered them, shipped them to him, shipped them back. I was like, bitch, you're spending too much money for these books, but it's okay. It's definitely
You
okay.
don't know what it means to me though. That yeah. And I really want one of yours like that.
Well, I think tomorrow, because I have the box of them from the book signing. So I'll be signing it and I'm hoping to ship it tomorrow because I'm going to be going that way to like UPS. But I mean, UPS is so damn expensive.
Oh, I know. Well, honestly, I just usually mailed all mine just through the post office. But I wasn't mailing in bulk. I was just usually mailing a single copy to people.
So
So
that's what I'm doing too. So it's like I have the author copy with signed available on the website that I'll be shipping probably through the post office. But like the
it adds
post
up.
office, the lines.
Oh, well,
Who
see, I'm from a small town. I don't know shit about shit. We don't have lines where I'm from.
I mean, thankfully, the post office right on the street. But anyways, so what is next for Charlie Gray? I know that you've written another book that's non-recovery related, although I believe there's a little
Oh,
bit of
there's
like
recovery in it.
I was about to
Yeah.
say,
There's
but it's
an
your
alcoholic
memoir.
werewolf. Yeah.
So, like, what's next for Charlie?
The next journey. So I have found that I finished that last book, The Phantom Maverick. I published it in August of last year. And I didn't really write anything. I didn't really do anything until really the middle of December.
Mm-hmm.
And just that like 4 month time frame, I learned about myself. I need to be writing a book. I just always need, because it's my work, but it's also my passion. It's just everything for me, you know? So I'm just in such a better headspace when I'm writing, when I'm working on something. So that when the new year rolled around, I thought, okay, you've published 4 books.
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud of how you've grown as a writer. I'm proud of where you are now with your skill set. I want you to write a book and get an agent. And so that's what I'm doing now. I know it's going to be a really hard and long process, but I want to see my book traditionally published, you know. I want to see it in Barnes and Noble, like just silly shit like that. Like
Yeah.
I want that, and I want the dust jacket on my hardcover. So the story I'm writing though for that is it's addiction. It's this story of a 34-year-old gay alcoholic who has the offer to have his addiction removed from him so that he can physically battle it. If he slays it, then he's free of his addiction. If he doesn't slay it, then he's consumed by his addiction. So that's
Interesting concept.
yeah, it's I'm really excited about it. I took the oldest story that we have, which is Gilgamesh, and I did a lot of research on what the Greeks, the hero's journey and hamartia and all of that. And I thought, I'm going to take the oldest story in time. I'm going to put an alcoholic in it and see what the fuck we can do. And he's gay too. He's gay too.
Good. We need more gay stuff out there.
Yes, more
We got to
queer.
take over the world. One cashmere at a time. No, the So like my second book, it's not there is gonna be some kind of addiction in there, sprinkle,
Hmm.
because like that's something I'm familiar with.
Yeah,
And
write what you
so
know.
my second book, well, the one I'm writing right now, is a gay romance set in modern day times with
I love
modern
it.
fucking reality of
Yes.
open relationships to addiction problems to cheating to all this bullshit. And like, because I'm so sick and tired of watching. Because I'm one of those immediate people that like that Amazon Video, all this stuff. I go to the gay section, and
Bitch,
I
don't get
love
me
watching.
started. I wrote my college thesis on queer representation, and it was called The Celluloid. There's a movie. There's this whole. Don't even get me started on this bullshit because I will get on fire. Like, I am sick of how we're portrayed and how we have been portrayed, and they tout these things like, "Oh, we're heartbreakers and whatever." The red, royal, white, and fuck you all, fuck all of you. We're either. Oh, I'm just so tired of it. So yeah,
Well,
that's
I'm
why I
tired of
write.
it being look like watching this thing, getting like I've always had this like picture perfect, being swept off my feet in marriage because of these movies that I've seen. And that goes true
Yeah.
for straight world too.
Oh,
All
they've
these
just
like
been dealing with it longer.
yeah, like Jingle All the Way, the Christmas movie. I like don't get me wrong, I do like the movie. Like Red, White, and Royal Blue. Like none of these seem fucking realistic. None of it.
Well, and it's very much, I mean, it's the ideal gay man
Yeah.
falling in love with the
I do.
ideal digestible gay man that we can market to the entirety of the, fuck that. No. Why
Yeah.
do they all have to be these pretty mask like dudes? Like,
Well,
what the fuck?
have you seen Bear City?
No, and there is a show on Netflix, Glam or something, that's really good too with representation. But
So Bear City, it surrounds itself bears, but of course it has to focus a little bit more on the muscle bear side, but there is a lot of chunks of chubbies in there and stuff like that, chasers, so on and so forth. And me being in like that kind of scene in the gay community, a lot of the people from the movie I recognized from like the dating apps, like being
yeah,
on Bigger City. So I was actually like super grateful that like they could have just casted anybody, but like they casted a literal chaser that's
yeah.
like chasing chubs online to be a chaser in a movie. So like it seems a little bit more authentic and like the reality
Well, and
of
that's
the
what they're
culture.
doing. Yeah, there's the whole conversation now, should only queer actors be playing queer parts? And
I don't believe so.
coming from an actor background, like I wanted to be an actor, my instinct is to say, give the queer roles to queer people
Mhm.
first. If they don't want it, it can go to someone
Oh
straight.
yeah,
But I'm tired of seeing straight men. They all play gay the same way.
because it's really hard for a gay man to play straight, but very easy for a straight man to play gay. And I
See, I
think,
think it's easy for a gay man to play straight.
girl, I could never.
Look at Matt Balmer. I mean, he does it all the time.
Yeah.
Or what's his name? That was
Oh, Cam. No. He was straight. He played gay.
no, the guy from Beauty and the Beast who's Gaston, Luke Evans.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he was only in the movie for what, like 0.5 seconds?
Yeah, but no, but he plays
Oh,
a lot of straight character.
Gaston.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Never
he's
mind. He was a
gay, but he
beast.
plays. I mean, he played Dracula, like in
Oh
like a big.
shit.
Yeah, like Luke Evans
Okay.
plays a lot of like roles, like
Yeah.
Chris Hemsworth roles, but he's gay. So
Well, that's what when I watched Pose. That's what I loved was that I
Pose,
started,
is that what I'm thinking? No, I'm thinking of Glam. Never mind.
I
Sorry.
was watching Pose and like researching these actresses. And like I think it was very spot on that like almost every trans major role in that movie was trans in real
Yeah.
life. And I was like, okay, thank God. Like that we're not having another female just play a trans role.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, like if there's not an available actor for the role or that you're seeking, then yeah, of course you need to give it to who's available. I mean, acting at the end of the day is playing somebody that you're not.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're going to dive into queer culture or try to put a trans person up and like make her like pour out her like life story on a movie, then you need to make sure you have somebody that actually truly and fucking understands what
Yeah. Just make
trans
them
people go
trans and
through.
queer. Just
Yeah.
make them trans and queer. Yeah. There's
So,
plenty of parts for straight people.
so I want to see Charlie Gray write a romance, like a full-on gay romance.
I did. It's on Kindle Vella. It's kind of short. It's called It Happened One EDC. And it's my like gay rom-com, but I would like to take that further. This new book that I'm writing it'll have a gay romance in it, but it's not going to be like I want to write a gay rom-com. Yes, I know what you
Yes.
mean. Like that's what I want to do too.
I'm hoping honestly with the book that I'm currently in the process of, I'm hoping to do a short film out of it eventually for
Oh,
Sundance.
fun.
So, but girl, money,
Oh,
money.
I know. Well,
Like
you just got to get investors and yeah.
Like I love your books, and I'm like, but girl, save some money on the cover art. Like
Yes.
people adore my cover of my book. I've gotten compliments on it left and right, and you know how much my cover cost me? $80.
Oh, well, yeah. And nowadays, I mean, you can, I know. And the people that did mine were a little expensive, only for the first one. For my second and third, I got really good deals.
Oh, okay,
but
good.
my first one, I paid about 400 for, and I was just like, whoa.
I paid a high school friend $50, and then I paid 30 because he only did the art. Like he only gave me like the front of the cover. So then I paid a woman from Italy like $30 to do the full wrap with the back and the spine.
Yeah.
So like, but $80 in total. Because I mean, I'm in a Facebook group, and the people are spending like $2-3 grand just to get it formatted, or not formatted, but edited and.
Well, the editing,
cover.
yes. When you start and when you start getting into working with an editor, there's no way around paying money, because they usually charge by the word.
I found a girl on Fiverr. She's like new in the industry, but has a degree in like
that's
creative
always
writing.
good if you can get them when they're new. They are much cheaper. Yeah.
She charged me, I think, like $75.
Yeah.
But I have a coworker that's really good. I have a friend that's really good. So I kind of like, I use the coworker first to do any major edits, and then I send it to the other girl just to kind of like fine tune, refine.
I don't believe in editors. I don't.
What?
I don't believe in editors. Mm-mm.
Then how do you have somebody like, well, okay, but when we talk about editors, I'm talking about not to change the story, but to like punctuations, spellings.
Oh, like a proof of copy editor.
Yeah.
Like proof. Yes, I believe in that. But Anne Rice said something that stuck with me so much, that said, you don't tell a composer, no one goes in and changes a composer's notes. No one goes in and holds an artist's paintbrush. No one goes in and changes a writer's words. You just don't do it.
Yeah. I mean, the one that I used on Etsy, she, like, the way she did it was like, she would give a suggestion.
Yes,
and that's to
one
help
thing.
with flow.
Yeah, developmental.
And then you could accept or deny.
Yeah. But this whole like process of having an editor, I think you need to have eyes on it and get feedback. Yeah. But when people start like changing, I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
You're like, bitch, I spent months writing this hoe.
Well, and it all comes down to the fact that you have to have confidence and trust in your writing. And so when you're writing something, you're in that moment, and you have to respect that moment and how you felt whenever you were doing it. So to pick it apart later is usually not that beneficial.
Of course. But we could continue for hours.
I know.
So if people want to find you on social media, we've already kind of discussed where you can find the book, but you could drop that again. But where can they find you on social media or a website?
So you can find me on Facebook, Charlie Gray. You can find me on Instagram at His Majesty Charles III. It's 3RD. The easiest way is just to type in at least I'm not the frog. Just type in at least I'm not the frog into Google, and that's going to bring up everything tied to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, good.
My website, all my socials, a bunch of podcasts that I've been on. Yeah, it'll just pull up. I love to Google myself. It makes me feel very special.
I'm trying, but because the name is so new, because of course I just changed it in 2020, it's like, which is good because I don't want my father's side of the family finding me. Like it's easy because they don't know my new name. But yeah, like I think if you Google Holden Swanson author, it does pop up. But if you just Google Holden Swanson, it's like, bitch, who are you?
Well, give it time too. I mean, it took, I have 4 books out, and like, you know, it took, well, and then the podcast, I bet all your podcasts, well, is it under Holden Swanson?
I think so.
Okay.
I think if you type in the Sober Unicorn, of course, it just pops
up
everywhere.
Yeah. You pop up on my episodes, for you pop up on all kinds of stuff. It's crazy, but
that's good.
It's so good. It's so good. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, girl. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate everything that you do, and I'm sure we will continue this. We've known each other for 2 years now.
I know. Well, I have to read your book and get back on here and talk about that. So
we do. I do. I am hoping that maybe we could switch where you could like interview me about the book, because I need to do that.
Yes, I would love to. Yes.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Thank you again for listening to today's episode. Hit that follow button to be notified about new episodes every week. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can find us on Instagram at The Sober Unicorn Podcast, or on our website at thesoberunicornpodcast.com. There you will find our episodes, as well as our very own sober-owned shop, featuring products from small businesses that are sober-owned. And remember, everyone, don't be normal, be a unicorn, but better yet, be a sober unicorn.